Morning, everyone. Dr. Cortez. And for today, we're going to discuss week 2, continuation of the subject, week 2. And these are my PowerPoint presentation. And hoping that you will listen. But before we continue, pwede mo mag-request to subscribe. So we are now in lesson number 2. Sorry for the label. That should be lesson 2. The title of the topic now is risk, return, and time value of money. Yan ang coverage natin for today. And for the learning outcomes, yung ating mga at the end of the lesson, students should be able to do the following: calculate holding period returns, average returns, explain different types of risk investment na. Kasama din mga market risk, credit risk, liquidity, and measure risk using variance, standard deviation, and beta. And lastly, we're going to apply the time value of money formulas to investment decisions. So at the end of the lesson, hopefully, ito yung kayang gawin ng mga listeners. And the topics to be covered, we have 4 topics for week 2. Measure investment returns, types of risk, expected return and variance, the time value of money concept. So we have 4 topics for week number 2. And let us continue. So today is Monday, July 6. For our synchronous lesson, our time is 3 to 4:30. So you listen to this recording, you digest the contents, then you comment your name. Don't forget to comment your name sa aking channel, because your name will serve as your attendance for this asynchronous session. Then let's jump in. Measuring investment returns. So last week we have discussed now, investment is an asset. Ito yung mga, these are the cash that you allocated, you put in a certain bank accounts, stocks, funds, forex, mga bitcoin, property, and hoping that you will earn money, gain from this in the future. So yun ang ginagawa natin. So we should always have investment, kahit even if you have a small salary, you should still invest like 5% of your gross salary will be invested. Okay, definition of investment returns. When you invest, it means you are expecting something in the future, like return, the gain, dapat your stocks, for example, will grow in value. Example, you purchase your stocks at 10 pesos per share, then after 2 years, from 10 pesos, it increases to 14 pesos. So you have a gain of 4 pesos per share. So meron kang dyan, you have the return on investment. So investment returns represent the profit. So when you invest, of course you are assuming na may profit or may gain. Kasi investment are your gambling, no? You are putting some money at risk, kaya pwede siyang net loss. Yung kaninang sinasabi kong stocks. You purchase stocks at 10 pesos. We are hoping that it will grow to 4. It will grow to 14. It will grow to 15. It will grow to 16. Like 2 years from now. But sometimes it is the opposite. So instead of growing, you purchase at 10 pesos sometimes because of political instability, economic downturn. From 10 pesos, it goes down to like 8 pesos. So it means you have lost 2 pesos per share. That is net profit. So it can be profit or loss from investment. Crucial for assessing performance ng isang investment. So of course, generally, if you gain something from your investment, so the performance is good. While the opposite, that is poor performance. The importance of measuring returns. Measuring returns aids in computing investment performance over time. It performs decision making. You decide, are you going to continue with the stocks that you purchase, or you're going to sell the stocks now even if it is at a loss. So we'll decide, no? If you see that your stocks growing, so you continue owning the stocks. So from 10 pesos goes up to 14, goes up to 16, hanggang double yung kanyang value. So important yung return. Kung may return, so you decide. Sa types of investment returns, ito yung mga in terms of return, in terms of percentage. Ano ba yung mga klase ng returns na hinahanap natin? So we have the nominal, the real, and expected return. Each type offers different insights. So maraming mga klase ng returns sa it can be yung capital mo lumaki. For example, you invested in a partnership, yung capital mo invested 5,000, then it goes up to 6,000. So the capital appreciation, pagtaas ng capital, that is a type of return. Same thing with the dividends. Mga dividends sa mga stocks. We discussed last time na pag sinabing dividends, yung stocks mo sa isang corporation will earn profit per year. So that is what we call dividend. Be given to you every year. Example, 2 pesos per share ang dividend. So if you have 1,000 shares, that is 1,000 times 2 pesos. So dividend income is 2,000. O pag sa bangko naman, of course, you have the interest income, di ba? You have the rental, nagbenta ka ng property, you have the capital gain. So maraming klase ng mga return. Pero dito sa ating lecture today, the nominal, the real, and expected. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. The absolute return measures the total return generated by an investment. This metric does not consider any benchmark for comparison. So, pag kumita ka, example, kumita ka ng 3 pesos per share, yung 10 pesos kanyang binili mo naging 13, so 3 pesos per share. Then, ilan stocks mong pag-aari? 1,000. So, that is 1,000 shares of stocks multiplied by 3, increase in value yung stocks, that is 3,000. That is absolute. Walang comparison kung ikaw ay profitable ba or hindi. Then the relative return compares an investment performance to a benchmark index. Ngayon, yung 3,000 kanina, so per se kumita ka, diba? Talagang 3,000 kinita mo kasi 3 pesos per share ang tinaas. But if we're going to compare that with the benchmark, example, sa isang industry, no? Sabi nila, pag kumita ka ng more than 10% dun sa yung investment, hindi pa sa masyadong profitable. So dapat ay mga 50% daw. Dapat 50% yung return mo para kumita ka. Sa sample natin, from 10 pesos, tumaas siya to 13, hindi pa rin siya masyadong return. Negative sa index. Kaya sabi ng index, for example, sabi ng index, we can consider that as a return of investment kung kumita ka ng 50%. Ibig sabihin, from 10 pesos, dapat tumaas siya to 15 kasi kalahati ng 10 ay 5, 50%. So pag kumita ka pala ng 5, example, 10 pesos yung stock, it goes up to 15. So di ba kalahati din na siya, that is 40, that is 50%. That is a time na we can consider na ikaw ay kumita kasi kasi 50% yung kinita ng iyong stocks. Pero pag to 13 lang, so parang below pa siya doon sa index na kinoconsider sa isang industry. Then annualized return reflects the average yearly return over a specific period. For example, ito naman ay we can average for the last 5 years. Example, for the last 5 years, ang inyong return ay iba-iba in terms of percentage. May 10%, may 30, may 40, may 50, may 10. So if you're going to get the average yearly return, example, yung year 1, 10%, no? Yung year 2, 30. Yung year 3, 40. Yung year 4, 10 ulit. Yung year 5, 20. So pag inad natin yun, that is 110. If we're going to get average, 110 divided by 5, that's 5 years, no? That is 2.2%. So 2.2% ang average annual return for the last 5 years. Ayan, maganda yan kasi para malaman talaga natin, no, kung ano yung pagtaas natin. Kasi pag isang taon lang ang yung tinignan, example, year 3, 50%, you should not assume na pataas yung increase. Kasi pagdating ng sumunod na taon, biglang baba naman, laging 20% naman. So it's better to get the average for the last 5 years. That is 2.2. So just get the total in gain in terms of percentage, then you divide by 5 or kung anong ilang years ang yung measure. It can be divided by 3 years, 4 or 5. Then the last one, the total return. Total return includes capital gains and income generated by the investment. It offers a comprehensive view of investment performance. So pag marami kang mga klase ng investment, example, nagbenta ka ng property, so meron kang capital gain. Meron kang income sa bangko, so meron kang interest income. Meron kang dividend, so meron kang dividend income. Yung parang you're going to add, to compute, yung lahat ng gain mo sa iyong portfolio. By the way, we have mentioned before na pag sinabing portfolio, this is the list of your investment. So marami kang mga investment. So may sa bangko, may property, may capital, may stocks, may bonds, then that is your portfolio. Then you add yung total gain mo doon sa mga lahat sa iyong portfolio, and that is your total return for sample specific year, na para malaman mo yung total na kinita mo sa lahat ng investment. Okay, so I'm moving the slide. Sabihin tayo mga risk-adjusted return. Ito yung mga returns na binabawas muna natin yung mga example, the effect of inflation. As example, pag kumita ka na example ng 50%, buong 50% ba yan? Absolute ba yung 50%? Baka mamaya di mayroon siyang hidden charges or hidden risk. So ibabawas natin yung mga charges na yun, no? So wala ako, shoot. So we're going to get first the Sharpe ratio measures return per unit of risk taken. A higher ratio indicates better readjusted performance, no? Sa mga Sharpe ratio. Sharpe ratio measures an investment return per unit of risk. So, kino-compare natin. Example, ang risk mo ay may risk na 2%. Ayan. Pero ang gain mo ay 3%. So, that is 3 divided by 2. 3% divided by 2%. So, yung Sharpe ratio is 1.5%. Ayan. No? So, 1.5, ibig sabihin, pag mas mataas yung gain kesa doon sa percentage ng risk, mas maganda yan. Okay? So, 1.5, di ba? So, pataas ang pataas, mas maganda. The higher the Sharpe ratio is better for the company. Example, ang gain mo ay 5. Tapos, ang risk mo ay ganun pa rin, 2. So, 5 divided by 2. Naging 2.5 na siya. So, tumataas siya, no? The gain is 8. The risk is 2%. So, 8 divided by 2. So, naging 4.4. So, from 1.5, naging 2.5, naging 4.4. So, pataas ang pataas yung Sharpe ratio, the better for the company. So, a higher ratio indicates better adjusted performance. Ayan. So, pag ikaw ay nag-gain ng 8%, o hindi ko pala yun ang absolute kasi i-divide mo pa yan sa risk para makuha yung adjusted na return. Then the next one, the alpha indicates alpha beta risk of return. It indicates excess return above a benchmark, while beta measures volatility compared to market index together day. Example, your return is 8%. O babaan natin. Your return is 5%. Kasi pag sinabing alpha beta, mini-measure niya ang mga performance relative to expected return. Positive alpha, negative alpha. Pag positive daw, outperform the benchmark. Example, ang benchmark is lang isang industry, no? Example, banking industry, no? Sabi ng banking industry, ang ating benchmark dapat 5%. Ano sabihin, pag kikita ka sa banking investment, dapat 5% and above. Yan ang benchmark. So it means pag kumita ka ng 4% na profit or gain sa isang banking investment, example, nag-invest ka sa BPI, tapos ang gain mo ay 3%. So, di ba sabi natin ang benchmark 5? Sample lang yan, ha? Benchmark ay 5. So, hindi ka umabot doon. Pag ang benchmark ay 5, dapat above 5% ang yung kinita. So, pag kumita ka pala ng, say, 7% sa iyong investment sa banking industry, o 7% is above 5%. Di ba? So, ang that is positive. Kasi you outperform or lumampas ka doon sa benchmark. So, lampas ka ng 2%. Yan. So, ang ibig sabihin ng measuring your investment gain, performance, 7% ang yung performance compared sa expected return or benchmark. No? Kaya, tinawag natin siyang alpha and beta return. Modifying returns for risk-adjusting returns for risk-enhanced investment evaluation. This process clarifies true performance relative to the risk undertaken. So, if you are going to use this Sharpe ratio alpha beta, pag kumita ka pala ng 8%, huwag ka munang matuwa. No? Kasi nga, we should evaluate your performance in relation to the risk taken. Kasi di ba, kumita ka, pero napaka-risky naman. So parang wala kang napakataas ang inflation. Parang ganito yan eh. So bahod ka ng 500 pesos per day. Right? Pero ang gastos isang araw ay 490. So matutuwa ka pa sa 500. O sa kitaasan natin, ang minimum wage natin ngayon, sabihin natin 900 ang minimum wage. So, ang sahod mo ay 950. Right? So, matutuwa ka sa 950. O pag, unang tingin, yung 950 mataas. Pero, if you're going to evaluate your salary, you're going to compare that with the cost of living isang country. O 950 isang araw ang sahod mo. Pero nakita mo, ang gasto isang araw, 930. Matutuwa ka pa ba? Hindi na. Ganun din dito sa modifying the return. You evaluate your investment based on the risk undertaken. So pag kumita ka ng 8%, huwag mo lang matuwa kasi baka mamaya yung kanyang alpha and beta or Sharpe ratio ay mataas din. Kumita ka ng 7%, kumita ka ng 8%, pero ang risk, 6%. So kung natira sa'yo, parang 1%, 2% na lang. So that is what we call. So ano bang mga risk natin sa investment equation? Mataas yung bilihin, mataas ang sahod mo, pero mataas naman yung bilihin. Parang kumita ka ng 6% interest, pero in inflation, 8%. So walang nangyayari, di ba? Yan sinasabi natin, modifying the return for risk. Okay, so I'm moving the slide now. Okay, conclusion for our first topic, recap of key points. Understanding investment returns is vital for effective investing. So, we should not be just relying on the rate, on the percentage. We look at the inflation rate. So, recommendations for investors. Investors should focus on a mix of return types and metrics, diversification. Iba-ibang klase ng investment ang dapat meron ka to enhance return and risk management. Kasi pag puro bangko lang yung iyong investment at biglang nag-down yung banking industry, lahat ng investment mo wala. Kaya ang sinasabi natin, you should be diversifying. Ibig sabihin niyan, you should have different types of investment. May stocks, bonds, property, painting, bitcoins, time deposit, savings account, cattle, livestock. Dami, no? Para yung risk, kahit yung isa, even if one industry, one sector will go down, meron ka pa rin ibang pang-offset, di ba? Yan ang what we're saying on diversification. Future trends in investment measurement, emerging technologies will transform investment return measurement, increase data availability will enhance. So, ang maganda ngayon, di ba? I have been always telling this na sa isang negosyo, isang business, we should utilize the AI. We should use AI as a tool. We should use AI as a guide. Kasi may mga AI platform that you just enter yung mga data mo about, for example, yung investment. And the AI itself will give you a report, comprehensive report about the evaluation of your investment. Basta complete yung data na in-enter mo sa AI. Example, maraming AI. I'm using DeepSeek AI. I'm using Gemini. Napasok mo lang siya doon, the AI will generate a report about a particular investment. No? That is why AI are very useful. Tayong type of risk in investment. Yeah. So why important? Risk refers to potential financial losses. Pwede kang malugi dun sa iyong investment sa biniling stocks. Pwede kang malugi dun, no? Or pwede kang malugi sa fluctuation ng market fluctuation. May mga time na bumababa yung value ng yung investment, yung stocks. Significantly affects investment portfolio and return. So, let us dive on the different types of risk later on the next slide. Factors influencing market risk. Factors include economic indicators. Example, walang masyadong economic activity, may economic downturn, yung unemployment ay mataas. Maraming walang trabaho. Unemployment, let's say, 20% unemployment. Sabihin 20% unemployment. Sa bawat 100 na tao, 20 ang walang trabaho. So pag maraming walang trabaho, Wala silang purchasing power, wala silang pambili. So walang kita yung mga business. So yung value ng isang business, pagpababa yung kanyang performance, hindi affected yung kanyang yung kanyang stocks. You have a stock in a particular company, tapos bumaba ang kanyang value kasi walang net income. The interest rate in the banks will also affect investment. Yung bank, we're talking about the net income, interest income. Kasi pag yung interest income ay bumababa, no? Kasama 1% nga lang ang tubo, ginawa pang 0.75%. So para yung investment sa bangko, pababa ang kanyang interest. Geopolitical events, example, yung mga nangyari sa Middle East, those are examples of geopolitical. Yung gera sa Iran and US, gera ng Russia and Ukraine. Those are geopolitical. It can affect kasi mga investors are withdrawing their investment sa isang company. No? Then you have stocks in that company. So bababa yung kanyang value. The same thing, pag maganda yung performance ng isang company, maganda yung economy, tapos tumataas yung value ng isang company, so bigla rin nagbo-boom yung value ng yung stocks. Pwede market sentiments, no? Some people are hesitant or afraid na mag-invest. So anong gagawin nila? No? They are hesitant to invest. So it affects companies' capital. Pag wala mag-invest sa isang company, it affects companies' capital. If people are withdrawing their capital, example, mga depositors ng bangko natatakot ngayon because of example, political instability, mga rally-rally. No? Then people now are now withdrawing their fund or capital sa mga bangko. So yung bangko affected. Bumababa yung value ng bangko pag, of course, nabawasan yung mga capital. So, wala na silang mga funds. So, yung stocks ng isang bangko, bababa din. So, your investment in that bank will also go down. So, I'm moving this slide. So, credit risk naman. The first type of risk, the credit risk. Understanding credit risk. Credit risk involve the possibility of loss due to a borrower's failure to repay debt. It affects both lenders and investors. Like, ikaw yung lender, nagpautang ka, di ba? Then, nag-default yung mga borrower mo. Kasi pag nag-invest ka, pag nagpautang ka, investment yan di ba? Pinapautang mo yung pera mo. Kasi you will gain 5% sa mga nangungutang sa'yo. And you gain that is your profit. 5% pinag-default. Let's say 10% sa isang mga pautang mo, 10% nagdi-default. Kasi do not expect na lahat ay magbabayad sa utang. Meron talaga mga taong magdi-default. Maximum 10% nag-default o di ilang 5% yun. May pautang kang 100 na tao, ang 10 nag-default. So, di ba, magkano yung kanilang, sabihin natin, yung total borrowed fund ng 10 tao na yon ay 1 million. 1 million pesos. Di ba? Then, ang interest sa 1 million pesos, pag 5% yan, 50,000. So, 50,000 yung mawawala sa'yo kasi nag-default. Plus yung principal, di ba? Nabayaran principal So, affected yung mga lenders. Impact on investment. High credit risk can lead to increased borrowing costs and reduced investment returns. Default risk significantly undermine investor confidence. Confidence, hindi na sila magpapautang sa'yo. Kasi natakot sila, default. Tapos, yan ang kalaring negosyo. Tapos, ang dami nagde-default na borrowers. Hindi nagbabayad. So, yung confidence ng mga investors or lenders ay nababawasan. Ano na po utang? So, if that will be the case, pala na magpapautang. Example, sino ba mga lender, mga Bombay, mga mga bangko. Or, magpautang man sila, it can affect the interest, yung borrowing cost. Pag nangutang ka sa bangko, example, umutang ka sa bangko ng 500,000, yung bangko natatakot pautang sa'yo. Because of those cases of default or hindi nagbabayad, o sabi ng bangko, ma'am, mataas na po ang interest namin ngayon kasi po maraming nagbabayad, maraming hindi nagbabayad. So to protect us, yung interest namin ay tataasan na namin. It's either to prevent people from borrowing or to offset yung kanilang loss by charging high interest. Example, dati 20% yung interest. Because of those cases of default, sabi ng bangko, gagawin na po namin 22% or 25% kasi takot po kaming hindi mag-budget yung mga tao kaya tinataasan namin yung interest. So that is the impact of default or credit risk. Mga hindi nagbabayad, no? They can affect the investment. Okay, so more risk, operational risk, real world examples. Itong sample, JP Morgan is a consulting company in the United States. Mga sikat na mga sikat naman. Major multinational bank financial services company ang JP Morgan. They are into consumer banking, investment, asset management, credit management. No? Ang JP Morgan kasi in 2012, JP Morgan trading loss of 6 billion, operational failures nila impacted the kanilang reputation. Take note, JP Morgan is a famous banking company in the United States. So they suffered operational loss. It's given here in 2012. No? So $6 billion. No? So ano bang nangyari sa Ano bang nangyari sa kanila? To be exact, natin 6.2 billion yung kanilang nalugi. So ano mga reason bakit nalugi yung JP Morgan? Bangko siya, lending sila. So ano ba mga reason? Not for default, sometimes fraud. It can be caused by fraud, system failures ng kanilang infrastructure, processing errors, mga legal issues ng bangko, ng JP Morgan, compliance issues ng JP Morgan. So those are operational risks na pwedeng mangyari, pwedeng inadequate processes, system, external events, pwedeng human error, nagkamali mga empleyado, fraud, technology failures, hindi nakasabay sa technology or improper use of technology. Yun ang mga reasons why pwede magkaroon ng operational risk sa isang investment. Example, banking company is earning their income from investing or paglending. Okay, so mitigation strategies, how to prevent mga risk. Now, risk assessment techniques like stress testing and scenario analysis help identify potential risk sa mga bangko pag magpapautang sila. Tunahin natin yung stress testing of risk assessment techniques. How do we do this one and paano natin ginagamitin ang risk assessment technique? So, yung risk to ng ito hindi naman to risk ng Okay. Stress testing. Hindi ito stress ng tao Stress testing, risk assessment technique na ginagamit natin to evaluate kung how a bank, business, or financial system perform under extreme. Bang sinusunukan natin. Di ba nakapag-try ka na ng stress test sa hospital or sa clinic, ito yung pinapajogging ka sa treadmill, di ba? patagal na patagal, pabilis yung treadmill, tapos tumataas yung treadmill. So, testing doon kung hanggang saan ang kaya ng iyong katawan, ng iyong heart, kung malakas mo or mahinang heart mo. So, yan ang ginagamit sa mga tao ng stress test. Pero sa investment, ito yung ginagamit para matest kung extreme condition yung isang investment, no? Kung gaano ka itatagal ng isang investment under stress testing. Example, what will happen to your investment pag yung market nag-crash? What will happen sa investment mo kung interest rates ay tumaas? What will happen kung unemployment sa isang country will rise, will increase? Ayan, magde-default, no? Tinetesting yung yung investment mo, no? Hanggang saan yung kanyang kakayanin. Kasi ginagamit ang stress testing to apply mga scenarios na masyadong extreme. Example, losses, capital, kinulang ka ng capital, kinulang ka sa liquidity. Yan tinetest natin sa stress testing, no? Kung gaano kalakas ang liquidity ng isang company, gaano kalakas ang solvency, gaano ka compliant, gaano ka kadami, ka-adequate yung capital ng isang company. Yan ang gamit ng stress testing sa mga investment. And meron tayong diversification. So we have been talking about diversification. Lagi nating tinatanong na sa isang investment ay meron tayong diversification dapat. Ibig sabihin yan, yung ating mga investment ay hindi lang dapat isang klase ng investment. At marami kang, ulitin ko naman si Warren Buffett. You put your tomatoes in different basket. That is diversification. Pag diversification, you spread your cash, spread your investment sa different assets, capital, property. So why are we doing diversification? Para avoid putting all your money in one place. Yan. Para pag nalugi, pag isang asset lang kasang investment mo, nalugi yan, wala ka na. Diba? So, anong ginagawa natin? Yan, lagay mo sa stocks yung iba, lagay mo sa bonds, lagay mo sa real estate. Diba? Instead of only one stock para diversified nga. Diba? So, malalaman mo rin dyan pag diversification. Maraming reason why you diversify. Obviously, one reason is para makalat yung pera mo. Hindi lang sa isang lugar. No? Another reason, para malaman mo kung aling investment ang pinakamalaki. May bigay sa'yo ng gain. Yan naman yung hedging. Offsetting position to reduce the risk of specific loss. The goal is to protect against particular risk. Example, using options to protect a stock position from a price decline. So, ito yung mga yung hedge sa Tagalog, parang binabarahan mo. Parang bara. Example, para hindi mo magsak yung yung pinto na ginagawa mo, parang sinasangkalan mo ng isang tinutukuran mo, no? Tinutukuran mo siya. Pag sinabi nating hedging. So sa investment, parang tinutukuran mo para yung isang risk ay hindi mangyari. Example, yung price decline, yung pagbaba ng presyo ng mga stocks. Example, you purchased a stock for 10 pesos. Tapos bumababa siya, naging 9, naging 9.5, naging 9, naging 8, naging 7, di ba? So, what is happening? Bumababa yung presyo ng yung presyo ng stocks. So, you're doing some remedy to offset yung risk ng pagbaba ng stock. So, anong example, using options to protect a stock position from a price decline. Pag sa price option, ibang stock na hawak mo, pwede mo siyang ibenta na, no? Pag nakita mo mababa, ibenta mo na. Kasi umabot pa sa 5 pesos na lang, tapos 4. That is mga hedging sa business. Now, mitigate strategies, monitoring, and reporting. How do you avoid risk? May mga professionals na they are expert in reading mga statistics para nalalaman nila kung yung isang stocks, isang investment ay in a downward turn or pababa. So you should be consulting them. Yung mga symptoms ba, mga symptoms kung isang investment ay pababa. So continuously monitoring of investment portfolio. So every day you monitor your portfolio, yung trend. Naka-graph naman siya, visual. Ensures timely identification of potential risks or symptoms. Regular reporting helps maintain transparency. Example, if you will monitor na yung political situation in the country is escalating, yung bang nagiging pangit, gumugulo yung political situation. That is the symptoms that will affect yung mga investment. So, tingnan mo, no? Nakita mo gano'n. Kaya ibang nangyayari, di ba? May mga deposits sa mga bangkong malalaki. And lately, yung political situation ng country, example sa Senate, situation natin, ibang mga depositors, ang ginawa nila, they withdrawn their deposits sa mga bangko. Kasi baka magkaroon pa ng mas malaking gulo, tapos yung bangko ay na-freeze yung asset kasi involved sa corruption. So yung pera mo dun sa bangko, affected din. So, those are political symptoms that can escalate into a risk. Okay, expected return and variance in investment. Define expected return. So we have mentioned kanina, no, na maraming klase ng return sa investment. May nominal return. Pag nominal rate of return, ito yung return or kinita mo before adjusting that to inflation. May return naman na real return. Sa mga real return na adjusted after inflation. So expected return refers to anticipated profit from an investment over time. It is calculated based on historical performance and market trends. Example ng mga return, no? Expected return. The return you anticipate receiving in the future. Yeah, hindi pa nangyayari, may probability. Example, for 2025, yeah, that was last year. No? Ang kinita mo sa investment ay 8%. So pag sinabi natin expected rate of return in 2026, ang kikitain mo rin siguro about is also around 8%. Pwedeng 8%, pwedeng 8.1, pwedeng 8.2, 8.3, di ba? Pwedeng 8.5. That is expected return. Yung isa naman, nominal rate of return. Example, meron kang investment, no? Ang kinita mo ay 10%. O, that is the nominal return. Invest ka ng 100, kumita ka ng 10 pesos, that is 10%. Nominal rate of return. Ang real return naman, kaya talabos ang real return, ito yung totoong return. Same example, nag-invest ka ng 100, tapos kumita ka ng 10 pesos. So magkano profit? Magkano return? 10%, di ba? Pero pag may inflation, example, inflation ay 3%. Ang kinita mo pala talaga ay hindi 10% kasi may inflation rate eh. Once ang inflation rate, ito yung pagbaba ng value ng pera. Yung 10% mo, bababa pa kanyang value kasi ang inflation rate is 3%. So 10% minus 3%, ang real return is 7%. Yan totoong return mo. So ulitin ko ha, expected return, ito yung inaasahan mo, nakikita mo next year, 8%. Ang nominal return, ito yung kinita mo na wala pang adjustment na inflation, 10%. Ang real return, ito yung kinita mo after deducting the result of inflation. Example, real return, no? Kumita ka 10%. Tapos sabi ng dyaryo, Ang inflation rate ay 3%. So, ang real return mo ay 7%. Yung pinagkaiba ng mga return or kinita mo sa isang investment. In importance in investment decision, understanding expected return aids investors in making informed decisions about asset allocation. So, important dito yung nalalaman mo makinikita bawat portfolio, bawat asset para malalaman mo which asset is gaining more, which asset is performing poor. Generally, pag maganda yung performance ng asset mo, you retain investment, no? Nakita mo isang asset ay going downward o ibibenta mo na siya. Kaysa malugi ka pa ng malaki pag di mo sa binenta. So, that is how important that we evaluate, then we decide what are to be done sa isang specific investment. Okay, once again guys, mga hindi pa nakapag-subscribe sa aking channel, pa-subscribe. Thank you in advance. So I'm moving this one. Understanding variance. Variance is ito yung, di ba, personally, may pwedeng sobra, pwedeng kulang. No? So ito yung variance na nasabi natin. Pag personal, example, ang budget mo 10 pesos lang. Pero ang actual mong ginastos ay 12. So ang variance ay yung 2. The difference between the actual and the budgeted. That is what we call variance. So variance measures the dispersion of returns around expected return. It provides insight into investment volatility. Yung pabago-bago, no? Pabago-bago yung investment kasi maraming mga risk. Sa investment, pag sinabi nating variance, ito yung i-measure how much an investment's return deviate from their average return. Meron kang for the last 5 years, no? Yung average return, sabi natin kanina, no? Nag-compute tayo kaninang average return for the last 5 years, sabi natin 4%. 4% ba yun? Sige, sabi natin anong average. Average return for the last 5 years ay 4%. Average yun, divide natin, di ba? At lumabas example, 4%. Yan ang average. Tapos for 2027, ang return mo ay 3% lang. 2027, 3% lang. Pero ang average for the last 5 years ay 4%. So magkano variance? 1%. Kasi pag siya yung variance, ito yung difference. Ito yung deviation ng actual return sa average return over time. So 1%. So what do we mean by high variance? May mga variance na napakalawak, napakalaki ng pinagkaiba. For example, average 4%, di ba? Tapos ang kinita mo in 2027, 1%. Magkanong variance? 3%. So parang ang layo. Napaka-high variance, napaka-wide ng difference, napakalayo ng difference. 4% versus 1%. Diba? Sabihin mo, more volatile. Yung investment, more volatile, bago-bago. Kasi yan layo ng variance. Pag low variance naman, returns stay closer to the average. Example, ang average for the last 5 years, 4%. Tapos in 2027, yung nakuhang return is 4.5%. So magkano ang difference? Napakaliit. 0.5% lang. So pag mababa or low yung variance, ibig sabihin yan, hindi masyadong volatile, hindi masyadong mabago yung scenario. It means stable. Low variance, closer to the average, no? Pag low variance. Investment is more stable. Investment na ginagamit no, stable siya, hindi siya babago-bago. Kasi ang kanyang difference, the variance is low. O yan ang gamit natin, no? Papa natin in-evaluate yung ating investment using variance analysis. So role of the variance analysis in assessing risk Variance is critical for identifying potential deviations from expected returns. Higher variance, pag malaking difference, pag napakalawak ng difference. Example, palakihan pa natin. Example, ang average ng return ng iyong stocks for the last 5 years, the average profit or gain ay 7%. Tapos, in 2027, naging 9%. 10% na, say 10% na lang. 7% ang average, tapos in 2027, 10%. So that is high variance. Why? Sabihin yan, pabago-bago yung performance ng yung stocks. Volatility. That is how you associate variance sa risk investment. Higher variance indicates greater risk associated. Pag malaki yung difference, pag malawak yung difference, ibig sabihin yan, pabago-bago yung behavior ng yung investment. And that is risky. Pag pabago-bago. Okay, sana kung pataas, pero minsan 7% yung average, tapos in 2027, naging 3% lang ang layo ng difference. 7% average versus 3%. That is volatile. Pag volatile, pag malaki yung variance, pagkaiba, risky. Kasi mabago-bago. Okay, so calculating expected return ng investment. Probability-weighted returns account for various possible outcomes and their probabilities. This method enhances the precision of expected return estimates. Ito ina-average lang natin, kasi kung sa probability, ito yung sana next year. So how do you measure probability? Ito ay 2027 example yung ating pinipredict. In predicting the return ng investment sa future, gamit tayo ng weighted return. 3 taon, 2026 gamitin natin data, 2025 gamitin natin yung data, 2024 gamitin natin yung data. So what I'm saying is, in predicting your 2027 return, gamit ang historical data ng 2026 for the last 3 years. Yan ang gamitin natin para ma-predict natin yung expected return. Pag sinabing weighted, we put more weight on the most recent year. So mas relevant yung 2026 kasi katatapos pa lang. Pero in 2024 na taon na data, hindi na masyadong relevant kasi medyo matagal na. Example, yung rate of return in 2026 ay 5%. Yung rate of return in 2025 ay 4%. Yung rate of return in 2023 ay 3%. So 5%, 3%, 4%, and 3%. Pag sinabing weighted, mas reliable gamitin yung 5% ng 2026. Kasi yun ang pinakamalapit sa 2027. So we put more weight on the most recent year na return in predicting 2027. So more or less, pag nag-predict ka, around 5% ang prediction mo kasi ito yung 2026 kaya tatapos lang yan. And before, we put more weight pag mas pinaka-recent. That is how the historical return approach. Diba? Gumagamit tayo ng mga record from the past to estimate the returns ng mga future dates. So, pwede siyang gamitin per month. Example, you want to predict yung kikitain mo sa July, gamitin mo yung data ng June, May, and April. That is historical approach, average method. Pag ginamit, sinabi natin, you just average yung data ng June, May, and April. Then yung average, yun yung return for July. Example, June ay 6%. May ay 5%. April ay 4%. So just add, 6% plus 5% plus 4%, that is 15%. Then divide mo siya ng 3. So 5%. Ibig sabihin, 6 plus 5 plus 4 is 15 divided by 3. Ang average ay 5. So therefore, yung iyong return for July ay 5%. Yung gitna, no? That is the historical average approach. Then let's go to slide number 16. Formula for variance. Variance is calculated using the average of square deviation from the mean return. So just get the difference, di ba? Computing variance. Variance analysis in investment. So very easy, no? Yung although meron ditong formula, no? But just get the average, no? Para malaman yung variance. The relationship in portfolio diversification. Diversification reduces overall portfolio variance by combining assets with uncorrelated returns. The strategy minimizes risk while maintaining expected return. So yan ang sinasabi kong pag marami kang asset, pag diversified yung asset mo, marami kang lahat ng investment kinuha mo na, no? Stocks, bonds, property, ano pa? Real estate, time deposit, lahat meron ka, no? That is diversified talaga siya. So meron siyang relationship. Pag marami kang asset, pag in-average mo yan, yung variance lumiliit. Kasi pag isa lang yung iyong investment, yung variance napakalaki, yung pinagkaiba napakalaki. Example, pag volatile or paiba yung stock investment, ang variance napakalaki. Pero pag pinagsama-sama mo lahat ng iyong mga investment, yung variance ay lumiliit. Sabi natin kanina, pag lumiliit ang variance, it means maganda yung performance ng isang investment. The last topic for today is the time value of money. So I have discussed this one sa mga past subjects natin like Feynman, the time value of money. So yung value ng money ay nagbabago because of time. Ang time pwede natin siyang it can be measured in years, no? 5 years ang time, 4 years ang time, 3 years ang time. So ibig sabihin ng time value of money, yung pera, yung value ng perang hawak-hawak mo ngayon, nagbabago siya depending on ilang taon mo siyang hawak-hawak. Yung pera mo ngayon, 100 pesos, is different from your 100 pesos in 2021. That was 5 years ago. Yung pera mo 5 years ago ay ibang value sa hawak-hawak pera ngayon. Kasi nagbabago yung value. Ito magandang example, in 2020, meron kang 200 pesos. Di yung 200 pesos, nagamit mo sa panood ng sine. In 2020, sabihin natin 200 pesos yung sine. Ngayong 2026, ang tanong, yung 200 pesos mo ba ay magagamit mo ba sa pagpanood ng sine? O bang hindi na, di ba? So, tapin, yung value ng 200 pesos ay nagbabago. Because of inflation, economic situation, political, geopolitical, yung mga reasons eh. So, therefore, money available today, yung pera mong hawak-hawak ngayon, you have, how much money you have in your pocket? 100, 200, 5, 1,000. The value of that money in your pocket now is worth more than the same amount in the future. Yung pera mo ay mas valuable siya kesa sa amount na yan in 2030. Kasi in 2030, yung pera magbabago ang kanyang value. So pag may 500 pesos ka dyan, nanood ka ng sine ngayong araw na to, bumili ka ng popcorn, soft drinks, kompleto, no? Ang ginasa mo, 500 pesos lang. In 2030, hindi mo na magagamit yung 500 na yan. Kulang na yan. Because of time value of money. This principle is foundational in finance and investment. So may gamit ng time value money concept sa investment. Kaya pag may nangutang sa iyo ngayon ng 1,000, tapos sabi niya, babayaran ko sa 2030, lugi ka. Kasi 1,000 yung pinangutang mo sa kanya ngayon, mas valuable. Sa kanyang ibabayad na 1,000 in 2030. Definition and importance: time value of money reflects the impact of interest on money over time. Interest like inflation rate. Its understanding is crucial for effective financial decision making. So you should understand ang time value of money before investing. Because of inflation, because of interest rate. No? So pag nag-invest ka ngayon ng 1,000, tapos sabi nung, sige po, mag-invest po kayo ng 1,000 per month. Para pag nag-retire kayo, pag 60 years old na kayo, meron kang tatanggapin. Diba? Lugi ka. Kasi iba yung value ng perang in-invest mo ngayon sa value ng pera pag ikaw ay 60 years old. That is the essence of time value in investment. No? Nag-invest ka. Iba rin kanyang value. So let's move this one. Hoping guys that you're getting something dito sa ating mga lecture. No? Present value. Formula and calculation. Present value calculation is part of future cash flows. Considering discount rate, is integral for investment, assessment, and planning. Yan. Sample ng present value. No? You have 1,000 pesos. A cash flow of 1,000 pesos in 5 years is worth less today due to discounting. Anong taon? 2026. Tapos sabi ng in 2031, that is 5 years later, in 5 years time, meron ka raw tatanggapin na 1,000 pesos. Pag sabi natin present value, magkano yung value ng 1,000 in 2031 compared sa value ngayong 2026. Of course, 1,000 in 2031 sa 2026, hindi 1,000 ang gagamitin. Ibig sabihin, in 2031, pag meron kang ginastos sa 1,000, that is different sa ginastos mo sa 2026. Mas maliit ang gagastusin mo ngayon, 2026. Because of time value of money. Yan tinatanong ng present value. Magkano ang present value ng 1,000 in 2031 ngayong 2026? That is the present value. Diba? O sabi ng kaibigan mo, bibigyan ka ng pera sa 2031, magkano? 10,000. But actually, in 2026, hindi 10,000. Gusto malaman, di ba, yung present value. Ang future value naman baliktad. Kasi ang future value, you want to know ang value ng 1,000 pesos mo ngayon in 2031. So, future value determines what an investment will grow over a specific period of interest. Pag nag-invest ng 1,000 ngayon, magkano yung kanyang value in 2031 sa baliktad? Diba? Ito naman, gustong malaman yung value ng 1,000 mo in 2031. Sa application of future value calculations are vital for retirement planning and assessing investment growth. They help individuals and organizations. So, nag-invest ka ng 1,000 ngayon, then 5 years na nag-invest. So, 1,000 per month, diba? So, that is 12,000 per year. 12,000 times 5 years. No? Ang total investment mo ay 60,000. Kasi naghuhulog ka buwan-buwan ng 1,000 sa loob ng 5 taon. That is 60,000. In 60,000, that's your investment. Kasi pag nag-retired ka na, pag ikaw ay 60 years old na, that is some years from now, no? Bibigyan ka ng company ng pension. Pero magkano yung value ng 60,000 mo pag ikaw ay 60 years old na? Ilang taon yan? Example, sabihin natin 20 years ang bibilangin bago ka mag-60 years old. So 2026 ngayon, ang pera mo 60,000. In 2046, that is 20 years from now, magkano yung value ng 60,000 mo? Siyempre, iba na. Hindi mo na mabibili ng 60,000 in 2046. So, meron tayong formula. Example, nag-invest ka kayo ng 1,000 pesos. Ang interest ay 5%. Tapos, in 5 years, yan magiging 1,276. Ibig sabihin, yung pera mong 1,000 ngayon, in 2031, yung kanyang value ay magiging 1,276. So, ano ibig sabihin yan? Pag bumili ka ng gadget ngayon worth 1,000, kasya pa. Pero pag bumili ka ng gadget in 2031, yung 1,000 hindi na kasya. Magkano kailangan mo in 2031 para mabili ng same gadget? 1,276. Yung tawag nating compounding. So, iba yung value. So, mas mababang value ng perang 1,000 mo in 2031. That is a future value. Applications in finance ng time value of money. Yan, if you want to invest or utilize time value of money when evaluating project viability and return. Ilan kayo matatanggap mo, di ba? 10 years from now, nag-invest ka ngayon ng 10,000 and 10 years from now, pagkang tatanggapin mo, o sabi nung nag-compute ka, no? Yung 10,000 mo in 10 years from now, maging 11,000 lang. 5 taon, so tutuloy ka ba? Investment decision, ay wag muna. Late pala ng kanyang kikitain. Loan amortization. Loan amortization schedules are based on time value of money principles. The detailed payments over time. So bakit habang tumatagal, pag nangutang ka sa bangko ng 10,000 habang tumatagal, 10,000 di ba? Tapos payable yan 10 taon. You will notice, no? Na pag naghuhulog ka bawat month sa bangko, pag yan ay tinuutal mo, lampas ng 10,000 yung total mong binayaran. Kasi nga, nagbabago. Siyempre, bago yung bangko, pinautang ka ng 10,000. Hindi ako papayag na sa 10 years, 10,000 pa nagbabayad mo. Hindi. Kasi iba yung bayang 10,000 ngayon sa 10,000 in 10 years. Kaya nga tinataasan bawat may interest, no? Kasi nga, dapat ay covered ng interest yung pagbaba ng value ng pera mo. So, you will notice, after 10 years, ang inutang mo ay 10,000, pag kinuwenta mo lahat ng binayaran mo, aabot ng 15,000. Kasi ibig sabihin yan, yung 10,000 ngayon, in 10 years time, yung kanyang value ay 15,000. Kaya huwag kang magpapautang na yung total the same. Kasi lugi ka, no? Then the last one, the annuities and perpetuities. Annuities provide regular cash flow calculated using time value concept. Pag ikaw ay nag-retired na, meron kang tinatanggap na annuities. Yung parang siyang pension. Ayan. So regular siya, regular cash flow. Example, pag nag-retire ka na, may meron kang pension of 4,000 per month. That is annuities. Ang perpetuities, iba naman, irregular, indefinite cash flow. Example, may 5,000 per month, may 4,000, may 3,000. So, anong reason ng perpetuities? Time value of money. Paiba-iba yung value ng money, kaya yung pension ay paiba-iba rin. So guys, yung ating to summarize, we have talked about the return on investment, the different types of return, the different risk involved. We talk about the diversification. We talk about the time value of money. So hopefully na you have learned something sa ating lesson for today. So don't forget to comment your name. Kasi kahit nag-watch ka ng video and you forgot to comment your name, I don't have a way paano malalaman kung ikaw ay nanood. Pagka-synchronous ang lesson natin, meron pa rin tayong attendance. No? So, malayo mo na lang, marami ka ng absences kasi nga, you forgot to comment your name sa ating YouTube channel. And with that, guys, I'm going to end the recording to end the lesson. And this has been Dr. Cortez. Thank you for coming down and watching my video. And see you around, people. Bye, everyone.